Well, good evening, friends. Father Frank Pavone here, National Director of Priests for Life. I have a number of things to talk with you about tonight. Some really great news about the continuing to make the courts great again, and some things to think about regarding the Democrat candidates for president. But first, let's go to my book, Pro-Life Reflections for Every Day. And on May the 21st, we have Romans 2:15. The requirements of the law are inscribed in their hearts, and their own conscience will also bear witness for them. Reflection. Since the early 90s, over 2/3 of the freestanding abortion facilities in the United States have closed. Abortionists admit that one of the key reasons is that fewer doctors are willing to do abortions. Despite all their money and influence, the abortion advocates have not succeeded in removing the stigma from abortion. Let us pray. Thank you, Father, for writing your law in our hearts. May it strengthen us all in right conduct. Amen. ProLifeReflectionsForEveryday.com is where you can get this book. Well, brothers and sisters, first of all, let me mention to you that our pastoral associate, Alveda King, evangelist Alveda King, together with Janet Morana, our executive director, are on their way. In fact, they've by now landed in Jamaica. And the reason that they are there for the next few days is to work very hard to stop the spread of abortion there in that country, because there are some there who want abortion to be expanded. Certainly Planned Parenthood and the International Abortion Lobby are always pressuring more and more countries to get it expanded. And so Priests for Life was approached. I was approached by some of the key leaders in Jamaica to come down there and help, to speak to the clergy, to speak to the general public, to speak to members of government. And Janet and Alveda will be carrying out that task over the next few days. They're also bringing the movie Unplanned together with our friend Mike Manhart, who's one of the co-producers and with whom we have been working a lot in regard to this film. And we know that that'll have a great impact as well. They asked me to come down there too, but tomorrow I have an event in New York City together with the Holy See Mission to the United Nations. Priests for Life is a registered non-governmental organization at the United Nations. We're pushing hard for the rights of the unborn there as well on the international level. And so every year they have a special event where they bring together the leaders of that effort, and we'll be there. Tomorrow night we'll be talking with you more separately about that. Let me give you some great news, and then let me give you some news about some of the presidential candidates. The great news is, thanks again to the leadership of President Trump and the Republican senators in the United States Senate, we have another judge today, another strong, conservative, pro-life judge on the bench in the most liberal, wacky circuit in the United States, the Ninth Circuit out on the West Coast. That is changing. The number of Democrat-appointed judges on that court is being approached more and more by the number of Republican-appointed judges. This is the president's he's got several on there already that he appointed. One just last week, Judge Kenneth Lee, that we reported about. And today, Judge Daniel Collins, appointed to and confirmed by the U.S. Senate to the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. Those of you who follow these matters, you know, when you hear the term the Ninth Circuit, you know, all kinds of outlandish decisions come out from that court. But now we have President Trump placing several solid judges on that court. And the good news doesn't end there. Tomorrow morning, yet another of President Trump's nominees for that same court will have a hearing in the Senate Judiciary Committee. This is absolutely fabulous and fantastic news. Do we realize, brothers and sisters, what's happening here? How did abortion come about in this country? Was it because there was an election? Was there a vote? Were you asked where you stand on it? Were your parents or your grandparents asked where they stood on this? Did our elected representatives come together and decide to legalize abortion? It was through the courts that this policy, which the American people have never agreed upon, was imposed on us. And the laws put in place by the duly elected representatives of the people throughout all 50 states were wiped off the books in one day when Roe v. Wade was handed down in January of 1973, and that was through a court edict. And how many times has Roe versus Wade and all the other violent policies that go along with it, you can't even call them laws, because they're not laws, they're acts of violence. You can't even call them court decisions because they're not court decisions. They're acts of violence that have perpetuated this Holocaust of the unborn. How have these court decisions come down upon us? If you have wrong court decisions, it's because you have the wrong judges on the courts. And if you want the right kinds of court decisions, you have to have the right kinds of judges. And to get the right kinds of judges, you have to elect the right kinds of presidents, because they're the ones that choose the judges for the federal courts. And if you want the good judges that good presidents choose for the federal courts, you've got to elect the right senators who are going to confirm those judges and who are going, furthermore, to stand firm against the tactics of the other side, who do not want any of these good, solid, conservative, pro-life judges to be on the courts. So Cecilia, bravo. We say bravo to President Trump and to the Republican Senate for passing the kinds of measures and appointing the kinds of judges that are going to defend your rights. Your rights. They're going to defend your rights, brothers and sisters. The Democrats are going to take them away. They're going to crush them. They're going to ban them. They're going to bury them. But we've got something fantastic going on here. Because I need you to understand, this, first of all, is the 108th judge that President Trump has placed on the federal courts. The 108th. He's got two fantastic Supreme Court justices. This today was the 41st of the circuit court judges that he has placed. That's the level right below the Supreme Court. He placed another 65 judges on the district court level of the federal courts. And you have to understand what's happening here. These are lifetime appointments, okay? So the courts are moving in the right direction. But there's a reason why the effort to put these judges on the courts is so successful. And it's not only because of the kinds of people the president is choosing, it's also because of the courage of the Republican leaders in the Senate. Senator Mitch McConnell from Kentucky is leading the majority in the Senate, and he has taken a very, very strong stand and made the confirmation of judges a very top priority for this Senate. But also in the Judiciary Committee in the last Congress, headed up by Republican Senator Charles Grassley, and in this one by Republican Senator Lindsey Graham, they have taken courageous steps to make sure that the Democrats are not unduly delaying or sabotaging these nominations. And one of the ways that they are doing this is by looking at the qualifications of the judge and not putting up with partisan political tactics and tricks. Now, one of the things that has been a tradition in the Senate is that when a judge is considered by the Judiciary Committee, and that committee has to take the first look, if you will, at the judge, after, of course, the president has done so and has nominated him or her, the senators from the home state, where the judge is going to be, where the court is going to be to which the judge is being placed, have the opportunity to express their approval or disapproval. And this has been called the tradition of the blue slip. In other words, in this case, we're talking about California, okay? This judge today, Daniel Collins, serving in California, he'll be appointed, he is now seated as of today on the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. So the two senators from California can weigh in a particular way and say either yay or nay. And if they approve, if they don't have any objection as the home state senators, they issue what's called a blue slip, and they say, okay, it's all right with us. Now, remember, the judges get confirmed by a majority vote. First, the majority of the committee itself, the Judiciary Committee, and then it goes to the whole Senate for a vote. That was held today, and the Senate has to approve these judges also by a majority. So no one particular senator or another has a veto power, but under certain well, I shouldn't say under certain cases, really up until now, the practice has been that if the home state senator doesn't give the blue slip, that nomination doesn't go anywhere, especially if both of them don't give the blue slip. Well, guess what? Both for the judge last week, Kenneth Lee, who was confirmed on the Ninth Circuit, and for Daniel Collins, who was confirmed today, neither of the California U.S. senators gave their blue slip. Neither one of them gave their approval. Well, think about who they are. Senator Dianne Feinstein, Senator Kamala Harris. These two women, they don't want President Trump's judges on the court. And so they did not approve of these judges. Guess what the Senate Judiciary Committee said? Thank you very much for your input. We have a majority of senators in favor of this judge. We are moving forward. This judge is qualified, and we're going to put him on the court. And so they did. So they did. The blue slip is not a law. It's not in the Constitution. It's just been a Senate tradition up until this year. I want you to understand something. Up until this year, this has not happened. That both of the home state senators refused to give their blue slips, and yet the judge still got confirmed on the court. This has not happened. The courageous leadership of the current Republican Senate is clearly in evidence here for your good and mine and the good of the church. Because again, where's abortion coming from? It's coming from elections? Are we referenda all over the country? Are we voting for abortion on demand? Or is it being imposed on us by the courts? Where are attacks on religious freedom coming from? Where's the redefinition of marriage coming from? Brothers and sisters, the radical policies that the left constantly wants to impose on you, on me, on our schools, on our children and grandchildren, on our churches and pastors, are coming through liberal judges on the courts. After 8 years of President George W. Bush in the White House, thanks to all the judges he got to appoint, most of the federal circuit courts had a majority of judges on them nominated by Republican presidents. And that means their decisions tend to be more pro-life, pro-family, pro-faith, pro-religious liberty. After 8 years of President Obama and all the judges he got to put in place, the situation was reversed. Most of the circuit courts were dominated by Democrat-appointed judges. Now, President Trump is moving it back in the other direction with great speed, in fact, at record speed. Despite all the delays and obstruction tactics of the Democrats, he has managed to place, again, as of today, 108 judges on the federal courts. He's already flipped the Third Circuit from a dominance of Democrat-appointed judges to dominance of Republican-appointed judges, and he's not slowing down, and neither is the Republican Senate. Many of you, did you not, many of you voted in the last two elections with a motivation about the courts. In fact, most of the people who elected President Trump had that motivation. I certainly did as well. Knowing the role that the president has and the philosophy that he has, knowing the role that the senators have, and in deciding who's going to be on the courts, this motivated us in the elections. And so I want to speak clearly here about the fact that your vote is paying off. It is paying off in a very big way. We should rejoice in that. We're going to continue to keep you informed of the progress on the federal courts, and you should reach out and thank your senators and ask them. Contact your senators, ask them if they're voting for the president's well-qualified nominees for the court. Ask them and thank them for doing so if in fact they are. Well, let's turn to something else here, and this was in the title of my broadcast here tonight. Joe Biden. My, oh my. Let me ask you a question here. How in the world can anyone in this country even think for a moment? Now, I want you all to mark my words and listen to them very carefully here. How can anyone in this country for 1 minute even consider voting for a party, voting for a group of people who have made it crystal clear that they are avid supporters of a Holocaust that is going on right now? I want to know the answer to that question, because you know what? Nobody has been able to give an answer to that question. And I think we've got a situation here in this country where a lot of Democrats are in power simply because nobody is even asking this question. This has absolutely got to stop. How can we even consider, you know what's really crazy, what's going on right now, is that you've got some 24 men and women in the Democrat presidential race, 24 men and women contending for the nomination of their party to be president. And people are actually arguing back and forth about one being better than the other. We're taking polls about who's more favored, this one, that one, the other one. Who's in the double digits, who's in the single digits, how are they distinguishing themselves from one another? Why would you even consider any of them when each and every one of them is avidly supporting a Holocaust? Don't come to me and talk about their ideas about health care, their ideas about education, their ideas about immigration. Don't even start talking about these things, brothers and sisters. They're coming to you and they're saying they're in favor of killing babies and having you and me pay for it. Have we lost our minds? Have we lost our souls? That we even think for 1 minute of supporting any of these people? See, this is the strange thing about this. We can get distracted by all the new people coming for, hey, I'm going to throw my hat into the ring. Oh, I'm going to run for president too. And this senator over here, and this governor over there, and this mayor over here, and this who knows who he is, nobody over here. But why are we even wasting time considering any of them? This is a party, the Democrat Party, that has staked its claim solidly on the ground of abortion on demand. Now don't start telling me, oh my goodness, this is just one issue, this is just one issue. What in the world are we talking about? This is just one issue. The killing of babies? Oh, I'm in favor of chopping little babies apart, but don't worry about that. I have a great health care plan. Think about what we're saying. Oh, I'm in favor of letting babies die on a table after they're born. I'm not interested in having them protected by the law. But oh, don't worry about that. Don't get distracted about that. That's just one issue. Listen to my education plan. Have we lost our minds? Have we lost our minds? I'm asking you. What is the explanation for this? I'm serious. What is... Can someone give me the explanation? How is it that we're at a time right now where we're actually even giving a half a moment's consideration that someone might be president of this country who can't even muster the conscience, can't even muster the insight that to kill a baby is barbaric. It's a lack of human conscience. It's a total lack of human decency. And still people are going to even consider this? There is something about this, my friends, that should make us, we should be pulling our hair out, shouting from the rooftops. This is absolute insanity. Absolute insanity. Well, Joe Biden comes along, and the other day, didn't get much attention, but today it came out on a video. I'm going to play this video for you, where, surprise, surprise, he moved to the left. He contradicted 40 years of his position about, he's a Democrat, so he's in line with the party platform about being pro-abortion. But, for a long time he was saying, well, yeah, it's one thing if somebody is allowed to have an abortion, but that doesn't mean I or you need to pay for it. Well, now he says you and I should be paying for it. See, the Democrat Party platform has gotten more and more extreme on the question of abortion and on a lot of other questions. And in the 2016 version of the platform, they added a line that they are against the Hyde Amendment. Now, I knew Congressman Henry Hyde. And shortly after Roe v. Wade, which came down in 1973, legalizing abortion, a lot of the debates that immediately ensued were the debates in regard to the funding of abortion. It's one thing it's one question to say, should the state legalize abortion? And Roe v. Wade answered that question. So right away then the question comes up, well then, should the state pay for what it just legalized? And the courts have consistently said, no, the state doesn't have to pay for what it legalizes. There's no obligation on the part of the federal government or the state government to pay for abortion. And in fact, thanks to Henry Hyde, what was introduced into the law was the Hyde Amendment. Now that protects a lot of federal money from paying for abortion. And it is estimated that it has saved over 2 million lives. This particular policy has saved over 2 million lives by protecting our taxpayer dollars from going to the killing of babies. The killing of babies, brothers and sisters. The killing of babies. The Democrat Party platform officially says we need to do away with the Hyde Amendment. In other words, let your tax dollars and mine pay for other people's abortions. And isn't this ironic? Because the pro-abortion people, and many of those that are running for president, will say, oh, well, hey, if you don't like abortion, don't have one. But you got to pay for it. They have such an offensive, disgusting, self-contradictory position that it isn't funny. Oh, if you don't like abortion, don't have one. Let the rest of us make our own choices. So you're going to make your own choices. Pay your own bills. But no, their position is, hey, if you don't like abortion, don't have one, and you can speak out about it, and you can even try to persuade others against it, and you can even vote against it, and you can even fight against it, but you have to pay for it in the meantime. Joe Biden, give me a break. Honestly, you're so disgusting with this kind of position. You and your entire party platform, do away with the Hyde Amendment. You know, people hear this, do away with the Hyde Amendment. But most people don't know what that means. Well, I'm telling you what it means very clearly. That you and I would be paying for somebody else to kill their child. And they all believe this. The whole Democrat Party is based on this. This is what they're saying. But I'm not making this up. Go read the Democrat Party platform. Go listen to Joe Biden. How can our fellow citizens even think for a minute to pay any attention to the whole crowd of them? You got to reject the party. You don't even have to waste time trying to compare one to the other, to the third, to the fourth, to the 24th. Enough of this. Enough of this. And as one of our good viewers is reminding us right now, this guy even claims to be a Catholic. Okay, let's take a look at this video. This is there was a woman who, she should be ashamed of herself too, that asked him what his position was about the Hyde Amendment, and now we know what he thinks. And you know, he might try to back off from this now as he sees the backlash that's going to come. But you know, never put anything beyond these people. But let's watch and see what this character Joe Biden has to say.
I'm an ACLU Rights for All voter, and I have one quick question for you, and that is, will you commit to abolishing the Hyde Amendment, which hurts poor women and
yes,
women of color?
Yes, and by the way, ACLU member, I got a near perfect voting record my entire career.
I heard you did, but I'm glad you just said you would commit to abolishing the Hyde Amendment.
Right now, it has to be. It can't stay.
Thank you.
How are you, man?
Yeah, it can't stay. It can't stay. I'll tell you what else can't stay. Joe Biden and all his cast of characters over there, trying to think that they can get a single vote when they're A, standing for the killing of babies, and B, telling us we have to pay for it. I don't know about you. I of course I do know about lots of you. Find that offensive, so offensive. We have to make our views clearly known and tell your friends. Now some of you might have friends. Some of you do have friends, obviously, so do I, that identify themselves as Democrats. Okay. And they might be looking at all these people that now are running for president, trying to decide who might I vote for in the primaries. Would you please point this out to them? Tell people on social media, point out, share that video, share this video. Show them what Joe Biden just said. Away with the Hyde Amendment. It can't stay. It can't stay. In other words, yeah, if you're against abortion, don't have one, but you got to pay for it. It's outrageous. Governor Steve Bullock of Montana. Hey, Governor, I hope you're listening. What's the matter with you? What is the matter with you? You're the governor of a state, and you don't even know when human life begins? Friends, you know, this isn't funny. We've got people who are trying to govern, they're trying to make us think that they're worthy of governing an entire state or an entire nation. This guy now wants to try to do both because he's the governor of Montana and he wants to now be also the president of the United States. And he can't recognize his right hand from his left because he doesn't know what an 8th grade biology student knows. That human life begins at the beginning. It begins at the fertilization when a unique human being starts to exist. But no. This is not a decision he can make. He embraces this ridiculous argument. It doesn't even merit the name argument because it's not based on anything reasonable. That the answer to the whole abortion question is, well, the Supreme Court decided that. It's not up to me to decide. If it's not up to you to decide who lives and who dies, how in the world is it up to the Supreme Court to decide that? You see, what you're going to see, I'm going to show you a clip from this guy too. What you're going to see is a classic dodge that these politicians make. And what it is to absolve themselves of responsibility because the court decided already. No. You don't get to sit out the most fundamental moral issue of our day simply because the court made a decision. You don't get to pass on what is the most important question for any public official, and that is, will I serve the public or will I kill the public? You don't get to pass on whether or not it's okay for a government to authorize the killing of a baby. Now, if people don't want to be guilty of saying that the government is killing babies, well, again, it's a convenient dodge to just write off the babies and say they're not babies at all, they're not human lives at all. Now, children are being killed in the womb by abortion in this country throughout pregnancy and even after being born alive. So the question of viability, when a baby can survive outside the womb, isn't even at issue here in terms of the commitment that every public official needs to have to protect those babies, because they're being killed before and after viability. And furthermore, the court said it was okay to kill them both before and after viability. We have the telephone calls that you can listen to at exposeabortion.net. Exposeabortion.net, we made calls into abortion facilities around the country. Mothers saying that they were 32 weeks pregnant, carrying a healthy baby, and that they were healthy, and the abortion facility said, come on in a few days and we'll give you the abortion for $25,000. So this is happening well beyond viability. Now, viability is a moving target. As science and medical science gets better, the age of viability gets lower. Not only that, but it changes geographically. Viability in the United States of America, with our medical systems, is not viability in Bangladesh or in the middle of an African desert. We've had doctors here on this program who have explained to us how babies are surviving more and more at 23 weeks, 22 weeks, even 21 weeks. Viability is changing fast, changing constantly, getting younger and earlier. Now, well before viability, in fact, when the baby is just 8 weeks old, you've got all the major bodily systems and organs in place already. They're going to continue to grow and develop, but they're there. They're there. You see the hands at 6 weeks and even earlier. You see the baby is a baby. What is that if it's not life? Growing, moving, having its own unique genetic makeup, having a beating heart that starts beating at 21 days, having a brain that you can measure the brain waves at 6 weeks. Movement, growth, unique identity. absorbing nutrients, expelling waste. That's not life. 8th grade student, biology class. When does a human life begin? Correct answer, fertilization. But no, we have the governor of the state of Montana saying stupid things, along with all his Democrat comrades in that Democrat Party, in that Democrat contingent of men and women running for president, when they can't even answer the most fundamental moral question that we have. I go back to my original question, my friends. How can any American spend 1 minute even considering voting for these people, voting for this party? How can we spend a minute even consider? Why bother looking at the differences between these clowns? That's an insult to clowns, who can't even stand up and say, we are going to protect babies. I don't get it. Listen to this now. I'm going to show you a video clip of the governor of Montana, again, who's thrown his hat into the presidential race, Governor Steve Bullock. Doesn't even know when a human life begins. Watch this.
Alabama passed the most restrictive abortion law in a generation with the goal of reversing Roe v. Wade. I know you don't support the law, but it has reignited this debate over abortion and abortion rights in this country. I wanted to ask you just more philosophically, some lawmakers believe life begins at conception, others at a heartbeat, others at implantation, others at viability outside the womb. When do you think life begins?
Well, I think that ultimately the Supreme Court settled this 45 years ago, and it's not my decision to be making the decision that a woman needs to make in consultation with her doctor and her family and her faith if she so chooses.
I get that that's your political position, but more philosophically, when do you think life begins? When you think about the process? Do you think it's fetal viability, implantation? I mean, this is just a discussion people have.
Sure, I would say that life begins at viability. But either way, it's not up to people like me to be making these decisions. And I think that's the greater point. And it's not what I think, it's that what does an individual woman need to do with her body and with her health care? And those aren't decisions that I should be making.
Stop giving us this crap. Stop it. Oh, it's not up to me to decide. What the heck is wrong with you? It's not up to me to decide that criminal is going to kill somebody in the street. Oh, it's not up to me to decide that person is going to rob a bank. Oh, it's not up to me to impose my morality on this family member who's going to kill another family member. Oh, it's not up to me to decide if someone wants to choose to rape somebody else. Oh, it's not up to me to decide that a husband is going to beat his wife. Oh, it's not up to me to decide that a woman is going to take her kids in her car and drown them in a lake. Oh, it's not up to me to decide that one student is going to shoot another student or 10 students in their school. Oh, it's not up to me to decide these things. Stop giving us this cowardly nonsense. When a child is about to be killed, yes, it is up to you to stand up and say no. When someone's rights are going to be trampled underfoot, yes, it is up to you, and it is up to lawmakers, and it is up to public servants to serve the public, for goodness sake. Governor Steve Bullock, Joe Biden, and all the rest of you who are pretending that you would be worthy of even a single vote for the highest office in this land, stop giving us this crap. These are babies. And if you don't think that you're able to stand up and say, no, you may not kill a baby, then you don't belong in public office. You don't deserve one shred of political power, 1 ounce of decision-making authority over anybody else. when you can't even stand up and say, you know what? It is our duty to protect these children. I don't know about you, brothers and sisters, but it seems to me that each day my outrage just grows and grows and intensifies over what's going on around us. And you know what? If we don't express this outrage to one another and to the world, we risk losing it. We got to express it. You know, the number of people have been telling me in these comments, you know, we need more priests speaking out about this. You better believe we do. Because if we can't get passionate about this, if we can't get excited about this, if we're not outraged about this, well, then what's wrong with us? How can we say we're embracing goodness and truth and we hate evil? Scripture says the Lord loves those who hate evil. We've got to hate evil. Not just oppose it, not just disagree with it. That's not enough. We've got to hate it. Let me give you one more. Again, listen, they're all the same. These folks, these Democrats, they're all the same. Don't try to find a good one among them when it comes to this issue. They're all the same. But listen to this. These quotes from Indiana Democrat presidential candidate Pete Buttigieg. I think the dialogue, this is over abortion, has gotten so caught up on where you draw the line that we've gotten away from the fundamental question of who gets to draw the line. And I trust women to draw the line. Okay, Pete. I trust women not to go through red lights. But does that mean we're going to take the traffic lights down? I trust women not to go through red lights. I trust men not to go through red lights. But you still have to have the red lights. Because you know what? Some people are going to go through them. And if you think that someone afraid, confused, feeling isolated and alone in a pregnancy that she knows is going to change her life is not going to be tempted to make the wrong choice, well, you haven't been listening to very many women who've been in these circumstances. We work with them every day. And so many of them say, I would have never had an abortion if I had the help that comes from the law that sets up certain boundaries against bad behavior that we might very well be tempted to engage in because the circumstances and the pressures and the confusion are so bad. I trust women to draw the line. Yeah, this business about trusting women, again, as an excuse to throw away our responsibility to protect babies. Makes no sense. And to deny their responsibility to protect babies. They don't get to draw the line between whether killing a baby is right or wrong. Nobody draws that line. It's wrong, period. Always and everywhere and in every circumstance and for any reason. You don't draw any lines between which innocent, vulnerable people you're going to kill versus protect. You don't get to draw that line. You see, on the one hand, he's saying, oh, I don't get to draw the line, and therefore I'm going to allow abortion. No, you got it wrong, Pete and all your friends. You don't get to draw the line, and therefore you cannot permit abortion. They've got it backwards. They've got it backwards. The fact that we can't draw the line between life and death means that we must protect life, not that we must allow others to take it. Then he goes ahead, this Pete Buttigieg, and gives another quote. Let me read this one. The bottom line is, now he's talking here about late-term abortions. The bottom line is, as horrible as that choice is, that woman, that family may seek spiritual guidance. They may seek medical guidance, but that decision's not going to be made any better medically or morally, because the government is dictating how that decision should be made. Oh, aren't you sounding all nice and technical and formal here? What a joke this is. Let's just translate this into a different situation. A child was just born. And nobody knew during the pregnancy that this child had serious deformities. And now you just find out when the child is born. Oh, and you're heartbroken, and oh, it's tragic and it's terrible. So you decide to kill the baby right there and then. Right there and then. So let's see what Pete in his wisdom said. The bottom line is, as horrible as that choice is, that woman, that family may seek spiritual guidance. They may seek medical guidance. But that decision is not going to be made any better medically or morally because the government is dictating how that decision should be made. What are you talking about? The government is dictating that the newborn shouldn't be thrown in the garbage can, suffocated, head chopped off? What about a 2-year-old that's creating an immense amount of distress in a family? The mother's at her wit's end. She's going to have a nervous breakdown. As horrible as the decision may be, I'm going to seek my spiritual guidance. False prophets. There are false prophets out there. Clergy, dressed like me, who are giving advice that sometimes it's okay to kill a baby. And you think just because they're dressed like me that's the right advice? And oh, this is horrible. Oh, but we can't let the government dictate that you can't kill the 2-year-old. Can't let the government dictate. Well, how do I know what's going through the heart and mind of the bank robber? The government going to dictate what he can and cannot do? What about the terrorist who consults their spiritual guide about killing innocent people? The terrorist. You see, Mayor Pete thinks he can dress this up in spiritual language, and these other, again, they're all the same. Pro-abortion candidates, they can dress this up in spiritual language and say, oh, you know, the mother, the family, they're going to seek spiritual guidance. They're going to seek what they believe in God to make this decision. Who am I to interfere with that? Who are you to interfere with that? You're a lawmaker. You're supposed to be preserving public order. You're supposed to be protecting people's rights. You're supposed to be saying to people, no, you don't kill babies. And it doesn't matter if you think God told you that it's okay. This, my friends, is an abuse of religion. For a politician, for anybody to say, oh, well, if you consult with your spiritual guide and they say it's okay to kill a baby, well, then who am I to interfere with that? You see how they abdicate their responsibility and they want us to give them the highest office in the land? They want us to give them the highest office in the land, but they can't even say, oh, yeah, maybe it is up to us to protect babies. Well, it's going to take me longer to fall asleep tonight than I thought. And I hope the same is true with you. Not that I want to deprive you of sleep. But I do want you to get fired up. I want you to get angry. I want you to see the absurdity that is around us, my friends. I want you to be hot about this, on fire about this. I want you to be passionate about this. I want you to be shouting this from the rooftops. We have to. We have to do it now. Would you do me a favor? ProLifeVote.com. We have set up that website to help you help us win this election, the 2020 election, for pro-life candidates. You know, because pro-life candidates are the only kind of candidates that we should be electing. Because if you're not pro-life, you're pro-death. You're pro-death. Yes, indeed. ProLifeVote.com will give you all kinds of helpful information, and it'll also give you the chance to sign up to help us with this election. ProLifeVote.com also has a little volunteer button where you can tell us what you could do, because we'll have things for you to do. Information to spread to in your community, things to do online, things to do in your churches. And the little volunteer button, you can actually get to it directly with this next website I'm going to give you, ProLifeVolunteer.com. ProLifeVolunteer.com brings you to a form. It's got a good number of questions on it that will help me to know that you're on board, that you can help us in this election, inform voters, motivate and mobilize voters. We need to win elections for pro-life candidates. And I'm going to say it very clearly, we need to get these Democrats who, for one reason or another, are so in favor of baby killing and of you and me paying for it. Believe me, that outweighs everything else. Of course it does. I mean, you really going to have somebody come along and say, yeah, I think it's okay to kill a baby. Well, don't worry about that. Let me talk to you about education and health. Education and health care for whom? They've got to be alive, right? To enjoy your great education plan, your great health care plan. Don't they have to kind of be alive first? Well, God bless you, friends. Thanks for listening to me. Thanks for being with me. Thanks for sharing the passions. Thanks for spreading the word. Thanks for sharing these videos. Thanks for all that you do. Let's do it together. Let's do more. Let's get this election started right now. Oh, Pip, you know, you got to be kidding me. After I'm in a mood like this, you're going to say something like this to me. Pip Salter, hey, why don't you send me a little bit more information here so that I can maybe I can do what I just did with those Democrat candidates and Pip Salter. You want me to read what this person is saying? You want to really laugh before you go to bed tonight? OMG, Pip says, I can't believe. Oh, now it went down a little bit on the screen. Can't believe a priest who would screw his own kids gets to have a say in this. Oh, we get to have a say in this. First of all, yeah, you see, this is a classic tactic too. Now we're going to see all these pro-abort Democrats doing and saying the same thing. First of all, accusing people that they don't know of doing horrible things. So first of all, repent from that. And secondly, oh my goodness, brothers and sisters, not for one split second should you let anyone give you any reason why you think you should be silent. Everyone has a say in this, no matter what they do or don't do, anything. And then, some of you have been asking about exceptions. Listen, President Trump is the most pro-life president that we have ever had. He has done more and will continue to do more to advance this cause than any president that we've ever had. Now, you have to understand, on a moral level, every abortion is wrong and every child must be protected. There's no exceptions. Every life must be protected. And you know who said that? The president. He said it in the State of the Union address. He said this is a fundamental truth, that all children, A-L-L, all children, born and unborn, are made in the holy image of God. He believes that. He knows that. He's convinced of that. He's a president. He has legislation. He's trying to unite the country around putting an end to abortion. And in this current political climate, all pro-life legislators, with very few exceptions, understand that if you're going to mobilize a legislative body, if you're going to mobilize a state legislature, if you're going to mobilize a Congress, if you're going to mobilize the nation, we're not talking here about a choice between a law that it protects all the babies with no exceptions and a law that just protects them with the exceptions of rape, incest, or the life of the mother. My friends, that's not the choice. This discussion could happen if running against President Trump in 2020 were a whole list of candidates who said, no, Mr. President, we're not going to just protect babies with the exceptions of rape, incest, and life of the mother. We're going to protect them all without exception. Is that, what country do you live in? Is that what we're choosing between in this election? Or are we choosing between a president who is saying all children are made in the holy image of God, we've got to protect children, we've got to stop this violence of abortion, versus somebody who's saying all abortions are okay, you even have to pay for them? That, my friends, is the choice that we have here. Don't get caught in the wrong battle. Please don't get caught in the wrong battle. As if we have President Trump on the one hand and somebody who's saying protect the babies with no exceptions whatsoever on the other hand. When we get to the day that we have that election, then we'll talk about who to vote for. But right now, they're different universes altogether. I know plenty of pro-life legislators who are completely, in fact, just about all the ones that I know are completely against all abortion, but they will come up with legislation that protects most children because they know they can get it passed in that legislative body. They know they can get it passed, as opposed to not getting any of the babies protected because their colleagues cannot vote for a bill that prohibits all abortion. That's why you don't see these kind of bills being passed in the Congress or in most of the states. So we have some of the states that are rising up now and saying, look, we don't need any of these exceptions. But a legislator has to know how to count. And you've got to be able, if you have a bill that's going to protect most children, you've got to be able to know how to pass the bill that is going to give the maximum protection instead of aiming higher than that and end up getting nothing. You've got to be smart with the approach that you take. And the president is trying to be smart about uniting all of us around the fact that we have got to end this as fast as we can. We have got to protect as many as we can starting right now, right here and now, and he's calling on the Congress to take the action that's necessary. So please do keep that in mind, brothers and sisters. And okay. Thank you for sticking with me for so long tonight. Yes, a priest, seriously. And this priest is going to give you his blessing. May the Lord bless and protect you. May he strengthen and uphold you. May he answer all your prayers and make you strong witnesses and advocates for life, in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. We have only just begun. And if you like what I said tonight, you're going to love what I'm going to say tomorrow. So tune in, keep connected with us. We'll be on again at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. Go to prolifegift.org to support us. Some of you said you're going to send us a donation tonight. Be a good idea for everybody to do that. And we're going to listen now as we conclude to somebody else who's going to ask you to support us and to support our work. So thanks for watching. Father Frank Pavone here of Priests for Life.
Hello, I'm Evangelist Alveda King. Day by day, my work with Priest for Life and Father Frank Pavone provides me with many opportunities to speak up for the unborn, whether on television and radio or in conferences with pastors or with government leaders. In order to accomplish all this work, we rely on the donations of individuals like you who believe in this cause and want to help us save lives. May I ask you to support us generously? Go today to prolifegift.org and give as generous a gift as you can. I appreciate it personally and will pray for you each day.
But you know what? When you and I take up this call and we talk about abortion, if we speak about it in church, we're told we're too political. If we speak about it in the political arena, we're told we're too religious. If we speak about it in the world of the media, it's too disturbing. In the world of business, it's too distracting. In the world of education, it's too controversial. In the streets, it's too disruptive. So abortion, if abortion is wrong, where do we go to say so? We go into the churches, we go into politics, into the media, into business, into education.